Hello everyone. So my name is Mike Pearson. I am staff side secretary at the moment, which basically means I have a union hat on. But for the last 20 odd months, I've been working as the Improving Workplace Culture project manager. Those of you who came to the AVH event last year saw me come along with all the stop bullying, harassment, racism, discrimination stuff. Now, my role has changed, but I still have quite an acute interest in this kind of work. And the active bystander is something that is potentially going to be coming available to us in the future from a course that has been done as part of Leicester, Rutland, ICS. And so these are just some of the components of that, which I just thought would be quite useful for you today in terms of how we can approach. I kept this slide in because it was already in the pack that came, but I just wanted to highlight that as part of the People First strategy, this is all part of culture and leadership, all about keeping our staff safe. So what do we mean by an active bystander? So let's start with a bystander. So bystander, a person who is standing near and watching something that is happening, but not taking part in it. So the active bystander is a person who intervenes when they observe and identify harmful behaviour being displayed by others. So you're not just a witness to an act, you actually take some action and intervene, and this is an important bit, when safe to do so.
Just made me feel small.
Quite distressed.
Like I wasn't good enough.
Like I didn't belong.
Recently there was some of my friends who were discussing the use of the word queer, and a straight person was saying that they found it really insulting and it was similar to the N-word, and they said the N-word. And everybody looked at me, but nobody said anything.
I was recently at a family wedding. As I arrived, I went to the bar, and a group of people next to me, predominantly men, started saying things like, oh careful, watch out, there's a lesbian stood next to you.
I remember a time actually when I was going home from secondary school on a public bus, so not a school bus, and there were some kids behind me, and this is a mixed bus with adults on, and somebody was saying nasty things to me and spat in my hair.
The bouncer just said, no, we won't let you in. And I noticed it was me and my other Asian friends, and then the bouncer just let everyone else in, and apparently they were all white. And then someone in the queue called me Jackie Chan out of nowhere.
They all wanted to say something, but nobody did.
All I could think of was, I really wish anyone in this really busy, crowded room would say something to them to make them shut up, or at least just talk to me.
If someone recognized that that was a problem, that would have made me feel like just being my race, being Asian and who I am, isn't a bad thing.
It would have given me some faith in people and made me feel like that there are people there that will stand up for you who don't agree with the perspectives of those people who are saying or doing what they were saying on the bus or in the streets. So I think it's really important to intervene.
See it.
Know it's a problem.
Take responsibility.
Take action.
Report and support.
So the point of putting that up, so that is a video from, I think that's the University of Manchester, and about speaking up and if you see things and supporting and intervening. And as you can see from there, the impact on the individuals when people don't speak up and support them can be quite large. I don't know, those of you who were here last year, the talk I did, I had a colleague with me, Keba, and he told his story. And actually, the key thing that stood out there was actually there were people around who maybe didn't speak up or stand up as soon as they could have done, and the way that the trust responded. Now, I think in terms of things we've heard from Vicky and other people today, our stance and we are much better now. But actually, for some of us, it's that, well, if I see this, do I get involved? Don't I get involved? So we're talking about AVH, but we're also talking about, you know, that conflict that sometimes we have between people, and also out in the sort of community as well. So let's talk a bit about the types of inappropriate and unacceptable behaviour. smaller things like the microaggressions. So those little things that just happen on a regular basis, which can, on a one-to-one basis, you might go, well, actually, that's just nothing too serious. But if you're that person receiving that all the time, and it just wears you down and wears you down and wears you down. I don't know if any of you have seen those little videos and clipped out there about mosquitoes and, being like lots of mosquito bites. So that's those microaggressions. The incivility, so that low-level rudeness that we're just, again, maybe snipping at each other. It's not direct bullying or anything, but it's actually just that rudeness. And obviously we're seeing a lot more of that being reported about between staff. And obviously we get that from the public as well. Bullying, so whether that, that's more intentional, it's, people with that, targeted behaviour that they're trying to undermine somebody, and that can be verbal or physical and assault. Discrimination, so based on sort of the protected characteristics, your racism, your homophobia, transphobia, etc., and harassment. And then the victimisation, where people fear sort of speaking up for fear that they will actually then be treated differently as well. So all of those obviously are unacceptable. And then what stops people from intervening? We are inherently compassionate people. We work in the NHS. Our main roles are to actually look after to people. But what kind of stops us from getting involved? So sometimes it's that social influence, that social identity. Maybe I shouldn't stand up because, people might think differently of me. That fear of embarrassment, or what if I've got it wrong? Perhaps, if I step up and I say something and actually I've just misinterpreted this whole situation, so I don't want to put myself in that position. Diffusion of responsibility. So that's about, well, there's so many people in here. Why is it my responsibility to do something? Someone else could do something, couldn't they? That fear of retaliation. So, if I get involved, will someone sort of fight back? Or, will I then get picked on? And there's something called pluralistic ignorance. Not easy to say, but basically it's that sense of, well, there are lots of people here around me who are all not doing anything. So therefore, that must be all right because, no one is doing anything. So there's a whole load of reasons and psychology that goes in our heads as to why this changes and why we don't intervene. So let's go into what's an intervention. So the action of becoming intentionally involved in a difficult situation in order to improve it or prevent it from getting worse. And we have 4 stages. So first of all, you've got to notice that there is an event, interpret it as a problem, feel responsible to intervene, and then also feel like you possess the skills to deal with it. And I think sometimes it's possess those skills that people maybe don't feel that they've got, or the seniority in some cases. And an intervention can be direct or indirect and can take place either before, during, or after an incident as well. So, active bystander intervention techniques, sometimes known as the 5 Ds. So we've got direct, distract, delegate, delay, and document. I'm going to take you into a little video again.
We all deserve to be part of a community where we feel safe, welcomed, and free to be who we are. However, many individuals have a negative experience at university through discrimination and harassment, often feeling targeted and unsafe. It is within our power to transform our community by being an active bystander and taking action against problematic behaviour. Your actions matter. We all notice unacceptable behaviour happening around us. It could be sexual harassment or unwanted advances, a homophobic joke, a racist comment, or someone being harassed on public transport. Sometimes it's difficult to identify when these problematic behaviours manifest. We can learn by engaging and listening to lived experiences of others, helping us to understand and support those around us. It can still be hard to stand up and intervene when we witness something. Often, We are unsure whose responsibility it is to step in. Surely someone else will interrupt and help. What if there really is no problem, or everyone views the situation differently to us? It is only by taking collective responsibility that we can ensure everyone feels safe. We care about the people impacted, and this is enough. We might see negative behaviour from our friends as well as strangers, and it can feel awkward or scary to intervene. Understanding the 5 Ds can give us the confidence to handle situations. Distract. Break up the incident by engaging with the person being targeted and ignoring the perpetrator. Delegate. Find someone else to help you or someone in a position of authority to step in. Delay. Even if you can't act in the moment, you can check up on the person being targeted afterwards. Make sure that they are okay and ask if they need anything. Direct. Approach the perpetrator and tell them specifically what is wrong with their behaviour. Then turn your attention to the person being targeted and remove them from the situation. Only use this method if it is safe for you and the person being targeted. Document. If someone is already helping the person being targeted, film or photograph the incident from a safe distance. Try to include street signs, landmarks, and date and time. Ask the person what they want you to do with it. Never post it online without permission. You can learn to call it out by taking University of East Anglia's Active Bystander Workshop. Find out more about the 5 Ds, how to recognise unacceptable behaviours, and what you can do as an active bystander. Every one of us can make a difference. Every one of us can call it out.
So as you see, the 2 videos I've shown you are both from universities and so not specific for the NHS. However, all of the principles are exactly the same. So we talked about direct. So can we confront that situation directly? Now, obviously, when we're referring to getting security involved, that's what we're doing. Can we call out that behaviour? Will that change the impact? Now, obviously, we need to do that in a sensitive way. We need to do that with the sort of de-escalation techniques that we talked about. But actually, we're being direct and we're trying to de-escalate quickly. That distraction, so redirecting that attention away from the situation. So some of the ways that's been discussed as part of the training from the Leicestershire group was that we can, maybe walk past, drop something, or go and ask a question of the person to try and help them get them away from the situation. So you're not getting involved in the conflict as such, but you're trying to help that person get away from it. Delegate. So seeking help from someone with authority or the ability to intervene. So if you don't feel able to get involved yourself, can you speak to your line manager? Can you speak to someone else who's in the area? Can you contact security, for example? Delay. Now, this is about that supporting that person afterwards. So they feel heard, so that they feel supported in what the situation has been. So it's actually going to them, what do they need? How can we support? And then the last one, document. So it's about documenting that incident to be able to evidence it if it escalates. Now, obviously the video showed people getting their camera out and phone out and videoing it. We are in a healthcare situation. That in itself is probably not appropriate. However, we now have the body-worn cameras. So if we've got people using those, then that is a form of documentation. But also just writing it down, making sure you've got some facts in there so that if this goes any further, you've got that evidence as well. So whether that's via datix or just a document on a piece of paper as well. And remember, never put yourself in danger. Only intervene if it's safe to do so. And as we've already spoken about, call the police on 999 in an emergency or 101 afterwards to get some support. So what is this about being active bystanders? So Active bystanders require moral courage and to be moral rebels. So moral courage is a willingness to incur social ostracism for doing the right thing. So you're not worried about your own personal image about getting involved. And actually, in most cases, if you're in there and you're doing the right thing, you're unlikely to be ostracised because you're actually there supporting. But that's sometimes our fear. And then moral rebels, so are confident their actions will make a difference, have little concern about fitting in with the crowd, and not afraid to speak up in support of others and their beliefs. And those 5 Ds are all acts of moral courage because they involve confronting harmful behaviour in situations where social norms push us towards silence. So, not all of us are natural moral rebels, but it doesn't mean that we can't become active bystanders. So we can develop that ability to stand up to social pressure, and we can learn how to become moral rebels. So it helps to see others role modelling that moral courage. It helps to develop and practice skills in moral courage and develop our ability to feel empathy for others. So spending time with and getting to know people from different backgrounds, ethnic, religious, political and cultures helps us to imagine the world from someone else's perspective. And also believing in change. You know, we're all here because we don't like the AVH scenarios that we get faced with. So let's all be part of that change and better at de-escalating and supporting our colleagues as well. Okay, so that is kind of a very quick whistle-stop tour about active bystander. So hopefully some useful information there. I'd also just asked to take this opportunity to introduce you to our new trust values. So some of you have maybe been involved over the last few months in terms of consultation, if you like, of going out and seeing what people want as our new trust values. The old Team NUH trust values we felt just to be a little bit too, and a few things that you all said when people fed backs and saying they didn't really mean a lot, no one could remember what they were, and actually what lies underneath them as well. So these are the values that we went out with to test, and there's been some changes based on people's feedback. So we are kind, we are inclusive, we are ambitious, and we are one team. So that kindness in inclusion and that ambitious striving to be better, and that one team supporting each other, all of which really kind of, again, fit in with what we're talking about today, and trying to be a better organisation and work better together. The framework that sits behind this, so you've got your value at the top, we are kind, we are inclusive, then what do we mean, and then actually some specific behaviours, so how do we behave as well, and then some examples of what is not demonstrated. My understanding is that these are being officially launched in the organisation towards the middle to end of June. So you'll start seeing these things come along. But I just wanted to make you aware of them. These are some of the posters which are still being worked up. So these are just some very quick drafts. I know that the comms team are quite interested if any people would like to be photo models for some of the posters. Please get in touch with them. And then my last thing for you is a little bit of homework. Just being observant about what's happening around you. Just consider those interactions and behaviours and social norms that you have in your workplace. And then just stay kind to yourself and other people as well. Any questions? Stunned you all into silence. Or you're all so hungry you want to go. That's fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you.